What constitutes a music movement? That is the question. This is All Gas, No Trash. My name's Adam, and welcome back to a brand new episode. And today's episode is going to be dedicated to the third prominent figure in the Australian soul music scene. And we will get to that shortly, but before that, we do have to do the Game Rage No Curse Minute, where we kill the first 60 seconds of the program with no cursing and no swearing whatsoever in order to play nice with the YouTube algorithm. So I'd just like to give a quick thanks to everybody that has been listening to our program on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, RSS, or wherever you've been listening. And additionally, those of you that have been continuing to grow our subscriber count and our view count on YouTube, it is much appreciated. Please continue to do so. Like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much for all your support. It keeps us motivated, and that'll be the Game Rage No Curse Minute. I feel as though this episode was a long time coming for the reason that I met this dude named Steven Charles, whom I started following, or rather, we started following each other on Instagram. And there was some conversation we had that came out of me writing a story, not an actual story, but rather an Instagram story about how I felt personally that Leon Michaels was the reason that Clairo had even got a nomination for a Grammy. And now perhaps more so because of the fact that Leon Michaels released his own album that featured Clairo, and it's like, yeah, Clairo may have been the person that probably wrote the songs and everything, but as far as the construction of the sound itself, it's very much Leon Michaels. And anyways, we started having a conversation about that specific topic of between Clairo and Leon Michaels and the Grammy nomination she got in the past year. And from there, he was telling me about his wife, whose name is, well, her artist name is Wilson, but her proper name is Shannon Bush. So he was telling me about this album that would be coming out, which would be her sophomore album, which I'm not sure at what point in the year. It must have been around spring that we started having this conversation. And he was telling me this album was going to come out in October. So as I came to find that out, I started paying attention more to the singles, but by my own fault, I did not make episodes about each single that had been released in anticipation of that sophomore album. So now here I am doing it, and we're going to be listening to the single that came out just last week, which was Big Star, and we're going to listen to a few other tracks, because there's one that really stands out to me called Girl, and I've been obsessed with it in recent memory. It's a track that I've been listening to a lot, and we'll get to that. It'll probably be the last song that we listen to on the program. But before we start listening to the music, I want to give some exposition on WILSN. So the lore, as I understand it, as far as WILSN goes, is she was born in Geelong, Australia, and then eventually moves to Melbourne, where she attended the Victorian College of the Arts and studied jazz and was recognized for her abilities in songwriting and singing. And she eventually makes her way over towards the US, where she joins a publisher called Pulse Music. And sometime around 2023, she releases her debut album called Those Days Are Over, where she was recognized by the AIR Award for Best Independent Soul or R&B Album or EP that she won. And there was also another award she won recently for her songwriting in 2025. And I'm trying to find the name of the name of the award, because it is pretty long. Okay, so in 2025, she won the award for the Vanda and Young Global Song Competition for co-writing a song called Give You Love that was a duet between Jessica Malboy and Jason Derulo. And amongst those two artists, I think the only one that actually I recognize is Jason Derulo. But nonetheless, WILSN is somebody that has earned her stripes in the music world and is now seeking to elevate her own platform with her second album called Bloom, which is releasing sometime in October, though I don't remember the exact date. I'll have that for you before the end of the episode. And as far as fun trivia goes, within the few articles I had read, her mother mentions a story about how Wilson came out singing out of the womb. Yes, with a top hat and microphone and all. No, that's not true. But as far as the lore behind the name goes, she credits a toy from her youth as being the inspiration for her stage name, Wilson, WILSN. Though she came to find out later that the name of that toy was actually something else, but that didn't result in her changing her mind about her name. And lastly, as far as inspirations or things that Wilson is very much enamored with as far as artists go, Aretha Franklin, Etta James, Dusty Springfield, Amy Winehouse were amongst the artists that she listened to in her youth and well into her adulthood. And I think that pretty much wraps it up as far as the fun exposition about Wilson. I do want to eventually talk about the question I brought up at the beginning of the episode. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about the latest track that she just released called Big Star. So go ahead and pull it up on your digital streaming platform of choice, and we will give it a whirl. And yeah, this is Big Star from WILSN going in. Hey, welcome back. That was Big Star from WILSN. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. As far as what I'm thinking, this is something that I could see easily featured on Back to Black from Amy Winehouse. And the track that I think it's most comparable to is You Know I'm No Good from the same album. And what it is for me is I think there's like a similarity in tempo between the two tracks. Perhaps Big Star is a little bit quicker, but it's also the arrangement of instruments that are featured, and specifically that baritone sax that is in the chorus for both songs. There's something about it. That dirty, nasty baritone sax, it feels so signature to Amy Winehouse, and to see it featured in Wilson's track, it just gives those Amy Winehouse vibes. And of course, you have the stellar vocals of Wilson being featured as well. And when it comes to trivia or fun information about the upcoming album, because this track is featured on the album, her husband, Stephen Charles, who co-produced it with somebody named Billy Oxtick, who worked with an artist named Charles Bradley, whose name should sound familiar because he did a cover of a Black Sabbath song called Changes that is featured on the Netflix show Big Mouth. So you should know the name for that specific song. And there's one other person who I believe is a session player whose name is Vince Chiarito. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he plays with Jalen Nganda. So just amongst those two names, you have two people that are great musicians and producers in their own rights who are adding to the wealth of experience in the Wilson team. And, a reason perhaps you should be excited for the upcoming album. So let's go ahead and get to the next track that I want to listen to, which is called The Way. So go ahead and pull it up on your digital streaming platform of choice and give it a whirl. Once again, that track is called The Way from Wilson going in. Welcome back. That was Wilson with her track called The Way. Now, I could probably make a Mandalorian joke here, but I'm not going to do it because that's low-hanging fruit. So let's transition over to discussing the track itself. Of course, the song starts off with the sweet organ keys that I love dearly. And I don't even know where my fascination with organ keys started. And if it did start somewhere, it'd probably have to be when I started listening to dub, reggae, rocksteady in my younger years. And yeah, all I got to say is I really appreciate the organ keys in this song. And you have the awesome horn section in the hook, and it goes ben 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 Man, I can't even do it justice because I'm tone deaf and it doesn't sound right, but you can appreciate the enthusiasm nonetheless. And of course, the song is topped off with Wilson's sweet vocals. And as far as the release date goes for Wilson's second album, her sophomore album called Bloom, it is releasing on October 17th. And be sure to pre save it on whatever digital streaming platform you're using. Please do so. This is going to be a great album that I'm personally looking forward to. And without further ado, we do have to get to the last song, which of course is Girl. And I'll explain to you why I love this song so much. And of course, we will answer or talk about the question that I asked at the beginning of the program about the music movement. Because I have to feel as though there's something going on here between Don West, Ella Thompson, and Wilson, three prominent figures of the Australian soul music scene. Perhaps there's more to come, but we'll talk about that afterwards. So let's go ahead and pull up Girl from Wilson, the last track that we will be checking out. Pull it up on your digital streaming platform of choice. Let's give it a whirl. Once again, that track is called Girl from Wilson. Going in. Welcome back. That was Wilson with her song called Girl. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. The reason that I love this song above all the rest is the theme of sisterhood. Now, typically you would expect songs in the soul genre to be about relationships, breakups, romance, just things of that nature, right? This one feels more feminine or feminine themed, to be in touch with your emotions, talking to somebody that's close to you, whether that is a blood relative or even a close friend that you've known for years that you consider family. And it's checking in, finding out what their situation is, finding out how their family's doing and stuff like that. And I love that about this song. And I feel like it's one of the distinguishing factors of it. And of course, I can't discredit all the other elements about the song, the melody, the instruments, and of course, Wilson's vocals. But if there was something to say about why it stands out to me, again, is the theme of sisterhood. And that's what I love about it. So, now to get on the subject of talking about a music movement, which is something I talked about earlier in the program, I don't know, man. I've given a lot of thought to how these three figures in Wilson, Ella Thompson, and Don West coming out of Australia to do soul music, Australian soul, their own brand of soul music. It's very special to see because I think within one of the articles I was reading, Wilson talks about how soul music is not really a genre that's prominent in the country itself, but perhaps they're opening the doors for more people to be inspired to make more music like that. And yes, there is another artist, or rather another group in Surprise Chef that is also from Australia. They are part of Big Crown Records, and yes, they are largely an instrumental group, but perhaps amongst those four entities in Don West, Surprise Chef, Ella Thompson, and Wilson, perhaps they're going to change the perception of soul music in Australia. And I don't know, it's a very cool situation brewing. I'm definitely paying attention to see if more artists pop up within the genre, if maybe we see artists packaged together like Ella Thompson and Don West to come out to the US to have a Australian soul invasion, so to speak. It's just a very exciting time for soul music, and to see it pop up or crop up somewhere else is very cool. And I hope it's something that continues to grow and evolve, and I'm sure I will be keeping track of it. But at the moment, these are the prominent figures. These are the figures that stick out at the moment. And I'm very excited for Wilson to release her second album. And that's all I got to say for this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It was quite a beefy episode, hitting the mark at I think 15 minutes, but yeah, I enjoyed making this one. Make sure you follow WILSN on Instagram and follow her on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever digital streaming platform you're using. Be on the lookout for her second album, Bloom, of course, coming out October 17th. I don't have anything more to say. I'll catch you all on the next episode. I'll see you all next time.